Hello, this is Joseph Wilcox doing the work of Jack Arnold, assignment 3, unit 31. I've already done the 3 parts, one on exercise, one on diet and one on smoking. I'm now going to do a 4th of the 5 parts on alcohol. I'm doing recommendations for my client, the strengths that he's got and where he can improve, and also how you can seek alternative routes and do different things. So the first question on alcohol that I asked him was, how often do you drink with how often do you have a drink with alcohol in? Now to this he replied saying about once a month. Now this is good because it means that he doesn't have lots of drinks with alcohol in. He doesn't have it very often, so that's good. The strength about having it only once a month is that it means your body will be able to take it in and will be able to dispose of it properly, and it won't be damaging too much or won't be damaging enough at all to make any effect. But the weakness of this is if you only have it once a month, then the alcohol might seem stronger to you than if you have it every other day, sort of thing. Not recommending to have it every day, of course, not recommending to have it any more than once a month. Once a month is great, or possibly even less than once a month, but you have to be aware of how strong alcohol feels. So my recommendation and guideline is to only have 1.4 units of alcohol, because that means that you can still drive instead of the driving limit. You haven't gone over that, and it shouldn't be affecting you too much, even though you're not used to the alcohol. So of course, I'm sure you're probably aware of all the risks and conditions that you can get from drinking alcohol, but I'm going to go through them because alcohol is probably a result of over 60 medical conditions. So it can give stuff like mouth, throat, stomach, liver and breast cancer. It can raise people's blood pressure, so give you high blood pressure, and also stuff like cirrhosis of the liver, and it can also lead to depression. You see people who are sad, maybe something's happened to them, and they just think, let's go to the pub, let's have a drink, let's just drink our sorrows away. But that doesn't work. All it does is give you depression and a load of other medical conditions which are bad. So then in 2012 and 13, 2012 to 13, there were over 1 million hospital admissions related to alcohol. So this is either alcohol-related disease, injury, or something to do with alcohol that caused it. So that's just one of the ways that it can hurt you and damage you. So then, instead of having alcohol, if you're really addicted, then you can seek counselling and therapy, but I wouldn't recommend that because you're not addicted, you only have it once a month. Detoxification, that's when you have a lot of alcohol and you want to get it out your system. But self-help groups, now I would recommend this if you have more than once a month, or possibly even more than once a week. I would recommend this because they really can understand where you're coming from and help you. But being as it's only once a month, I don't think it's really necessary. So instead of taking alternative treatment and therapies, I think it would just be a matter of choosing an alternative drink. Maybe think, okay, I'm going to choose a drink which I don't usually have. Instead of having alcohol, I'm going to have a expensive fruit juice or expensive non-alcoholic cocktail, and just try having a different drink which you want to have, because you shouldn't be drinking stuff that you don't want to drink. You should always be enjoying your drink, but try and pick a better drink. So try and replace it with a nice drink. So second question, how much alcoholic units do you consume on average when you're drinking alcohol? So we said around 5. Now I'm sure for this it's not serious binge drinking. Now the fact that he doesn't drink more than once a month means when he does have those 5 units, then he'll feel it more and it'll affect him more, and it might even make him feel more sick and more dizzy than everybody else because he's not used to it, and that will make him not feel very well. But the strength of it is that it's not insane amounts. Like, people drink that much daily and nothing bad happens or people drink that much daily and get away with it. You might be building up to stuff, but once a month isn't enough to really build up to anything. You just how you can improve it is just be careful. Make sure that you order a taxi. That'd be my recommendation to get there and get back. Because if you have over the driving limit of alcoholic units, yeah, you don't want to be driving. Because just a one-time driving and getting caught, that could be your licence totally gone and a load of fines coming in. And also, just that one-time driving, even if you don't get caught, there's a chance that you could end up in a crash or end up in trouble. And one, you have a limit so that you're going to be put at blame. And two, it makes your senses worse and your attention is not very good. And you're not really alert, so all your reactions will be slower, causing a possible crash. So the recommendation, I would recommend saying once a month's fine, but having around 5 units when you drink, probably a little bit too much. Just try lowering it, because you're not always aware of how much it's affecting you. You might have it 4 of the 5 units, and you might think, oh, I'm fine, so you have the 5th unit, when all of a sudden you turn. That's because when alcohol hits your blood system, it can really just cut out the oxygen and it can make you feel worse than you are. And of course that's not good. So then, the reason why a lot of people drink is because they reckon that people don't understand how much it's gone up and how many deaths and diseases can be caused by them. So, for example, an estimate of around 7.5 million people in the UK are unaware of the damage when they're drinking alcohol. Unaware what that one drink could do to them, or those current drinks that they have time after time. How much can that really damage their body? So then, for this, I would just say seek alternative drinks. Just have a non-alcoholic cocktail or an expensive J2O or something like J2O, because yeah, it's nice. Yeah, you don't have it very often, so it is a treat, but it doesn't have to be an alcoholic treat. This alcohol, it's also not good for you the next day. You have hangovers and everything. Well, that's not going to be good if you're going to places like work or if you're having to go out all day. That can be one of the worst things, really, having to do a whole day's work or a whole day with family or friends. When you got a hangover, that can lead to feeling sick, being sick, not feeling well, just moaning all the time, and it can really lead to depression sort of thing. So it is very, very scary how just drinking that one drink or multiple drinks can lead to such bad things. So I asked him, do you have any regrets? Do you ever regret any of the times you had an alcoholic drink? He says he doesn't. He said, no, I don't think so. This is good. Like, you shouldn't have any regrets. But if you do have any regrets and you do have things that you think, oh, I shouldn't have done that, then that's okay. It's always a learning curve. Yes, it would have been better if you didn't do it, but now you know for the future. So in saying this, if you accidentally drove home one day when you were drunk, then that would teach you, I shouldn't be doing that, because you could damage your car, damage yourself, you could damage other people. And if none of those, then you could get caught and have to pay a lot of money out and get in a lot of trouble. So the strength of not having to regret anything is good. It sounds like you haven't done anything wrong. You haven't made mistakes, and that's what we want to hear. But the way to improve is, if you do make a mistake, or when you make a mistake, the key thing is to learn from it. There's no point in making mistakes if you're not going to learn from it, because you're just making the same things over and over again. So then, for this, I can't really recommend anything apart from if you make a mistake in the future, just try and learn from it and try and be careful to make sure you don't make a mistake. Make sure you don't regret anything, because one bad note can be the whole of your life. Really, you have to regret it for. Um, so then, it says that men drink a lot more than alcohol than women, but it affects women more. Their bodies aren't used to it as much. So I would recommend, being a Zamoclone to male, that you should try and drink about females' amount, because females still go over the limit and still drink more than what is perfect, like what you want. But it's not quite 5 units, it's just underneath. And that means that you won't be quite feeling as bad, you won't be as hungover in the morning, you won't feel the effects, and it also means that you won't get alcohol poisoning to stuff like liver and stomach and all that, which can be very bad diseases and cause all sorts of cancers. Um, and that will be one of the million people in hospital uh, if you come up with one of those. Um, so, liver disease, this is from drinking too much. It can also be from other things, but mostly drinking too much. It's on the rise in the UK. It really is just going up and up from year after year due to the amount that people are drinking in the UK. And death from liver diseases reached record levels, going up to 20% in a decade. So this is all because people drink too much alcohol and end up affecting their liver, and then they don't have time to correct it, and the next thing you know, they're struggling with diseases and problems of the liver. So, if you did have stuff that you did have stuff that you regret, I would recommend seeing counselling and having therapy. This can be very good because it can help you learn from your mistakes, learn from what you regret, but yet make sure that you don't want to do it again and help you to not do it again. Because sometimes you might think, oh, I've got to drive home, I've got to get back home tonight. But if you've had too much, then you can't. So this is where counselling and therapy comes in, because they will be the ones saying, what do you think you should do? And then saying, yes, that's good, no, don't do that, I would recommend this. They can really help because they all understand that you want to go out with your mates and have a drink, you want to go out, have some alcohol and then go back home. So it's just natural to want to drive. So self-help groups, if drinking starts to get a little bit much, I would recommend that, but as it isn't at the minute, don't think that's necessary. So that's what I would recommend if things started to get bad or if you started to regret stuff. So then, my fourth and final question on alcohol is, what methods of transportation do you use if you've had a drink out at the pub with friends? He replied to this saying, taxi. Now that's great. You don't want to be driving, you're over the limit. Take a taxi. Yes, it is a little bit more expensive, but it guarantees you a safe ride home, hurting nobody, not yourself, not people nearby, and it can avoid big fines, and it can end up a lot cheaper and a lot less trouble if you get caught in the car compared to a taxi. So it'd be a lot cheaper to take a taxi rather than risking hundreds of pounds fines and points on your licence and even losing your licence. So that's a complete strength. Areas for improvement. For this, I would say this is great. Taxi, that's what you want. I'd say you could also look at other stuff like public transport, but that's not as good as a taxi because you're staying out the way of public, you're not next to people who might have problems with it, and it's also a lot safer because if you are too drunk to recognise what's going on and you're in public, someone might mug you or might take something of yours, and that won't be good. So then the risks associated with driving. Quite a lot of people have died in the UK from driving while being drunk. You hear it everywhere. Don't drink and drive. You hear it absolutely everywhere. Near enough every single advert's got don't drink and drive. Near enough every single pub says don't drink and drive. This is all because if you're drunk, if you've had just a tiny bit too much over the limit, that means that your reactions are going to be slower. You might not be paying attention to the road. All these are maybes, but at the end of the day, would you risk having a chance of dying, having a chance of killing someone, having a chance of having a crash? Would you risk maybe getting caught? You think, oh, you only live round the corner. You set out in that car, all it takes is 2 seconds, and then you're paying a few £100 fine, and you're in trouble with police. So, therefore, I would say that taxis are the best solution to use. Definitely the best transport to use, because it's a lot safer and you're kind of secluded to you and the taxi driver. Whereas in public, anything could happen, especially with you being drunk. You might even start, obviously not wanting to, but you might actually annoy other people and end up causing problems and issues and even fights with other people. Even when you're not really with it, you might still be doing it through yourself being drunk and disorderly. So the recommendation for this, I've already said about the risks associated with drink driving. Real bad thing if you drink drive, fines, people can be killed, points on your licence, lose your licence, and therefore I would recommend getting a taxi. It's twice as easy. If you do drink drive and if you don't know other solutions and you don't want to take a taxi car for some reason, I'd recommend something like self-help groups. They will speak to you and they'll say, oh, what I found helpful was this, what I found helpful was the train, was the bus, was this. And also they can kind of advise what taxi to use and how to act around the taxi, whether you should give him all your stuff, because at the end of the day that taxi driver could still take your stuff. So how to act, and that could really help. But being as I said, taxi, I wouldn't recommend that for himself. I'd recommend that for if other people didn't know. And thank you very much. That's part 4 of 5, and that is alcohol.